Today, beer making is a modern, high-tech wonder for the top-selling brands. The American beer market alone accounts for nearly 20% of the worldwide beer market, with nearly 180 million barrels of beer sold annually.
A lot of the breweries really look as much like nuclear power plants as anything else. You'll have a large, empty facility and a brightly lit control room with a lot of television monitors and a few people in there punching buttons and routing things around. They essentially can control all the functions of the brewery from a central control room. So we're talking very high-tech indeed.
With all their technology, national brands had virtually dominated the beer industry for over 50 years at the expense of the smaller breweries. By the 1970s, there were barely any craft breweries around, thanks to corporate consolidation. Beginning in 1965, a graduate school student named Fritz Maytag made a big step for the little guy when he heard that a beloved local San Francisco brewery, the Anchor Brewing Company, was about to go out of business. He took it upon himself to save the company.
Well, when I bought the Anchor Brewing Company, I don't suppose anyone in the brewing industry even heard about it for years afterwards because it was so small. It was so unimportant and so much ignored by the industry.
But not for long. Fritz was going to get noticed because he was about to launch a whole new brand of beer, including an ale, a porter, a small beer, and even a Christmas beer.
One of the things that microbreweries brought to the brewing industry was not just tradition and integrity in terms of raw materials and brewing history and brewing methods, but a focus on modern food science technology.
He started manufacturing quality beer and a lot of different varieties that the world had never seen before. He insisted upon using 2-row barley, which was very expensive, instead of 6-row barley, which was traditional in the brewing industry. It cost more, but it made a more tasty beer.
He created a little niche for not only for his own Anchor Brewing Company, but for a whole new generation of brewers who came online in the early '80s.
And thus the age of the microbrewery was on.
Who could imagine that some little guy could actually make beer and sell it commercially and have it be good? And so we were sort of to Budweiser and Miller's what Apple was to IBM.
Unlike the major brands that cater to a national audience, these small breweries can create unusual varieties and flavors, like Purple Haze and Black Chocolate Stout, allowing them to direct their product at the regional, neighborhood, and specialty markets. And do it all while only producing fewer than 30,000 barrels a year.
You don't have marketing committees determining exactly which beer you're going to make. It's really up to the whims of the brewmaster to decide what beers they want to make, offer it to customers that they may know personally. It's very much of a hands-on type of thing.
We've made all kinds of things for fun, just once or twice. We enjoy doing that, like a chef in a restaurant who cooks up a new dish and just maybe does it once or does it for a week and then doesn't continue it on the menu. We do that too.
Doing specialized beers, they're reviving styles that we haven't seen in this country in a long time. Between them and imports, it's nearing 20% of the beer sales in this country, so they've been very successful at it.
It's weird for there only to be one kind of beer and one kind of bread and 3 kinds of cheese. And that's what we had for a long time in this country, was everybody ate the same thing, we drank the same thing, and we didn't have much of an opinion about it.
Now there are thousands of microbrews on tap, and although they don't outsell the big mansions of Miller, Bud, and Coors, who today dominate 80% of the country's beer sales, they have become an important cottage industry. The rise of microbreweries has given the American beer lover more choices, over 1,000 different beer choices in fact.
Brewers went out of their way to create something that was their own, something that was distinct to their own vision of what beer would be like. And this really affected people's perception of beer, and there was a ready market for it.
But regardless of which beer you choose for yourself, one thing is clear. beer will forever be an essential part of the American persona.
America and beer grew up together.
I mean, you don't go to Fenway Park to have a glass of wine.
Wherever you go, beer is always a big part of any history, from the ancient Egyptians right up into the present. So it's a lot of fun to be part of it.
It started out as a way to avoid illness spread by water, and eventually was transformed into a recreational beverage enjoyed by casual drinkers and beer connoisseurs.
There's really a sense that beer, of all foods and beverages, that beer is really something special. And you see this, of course, in people who drink beer and get together and enjoy beer. There's always just a beautiful vibe.
Beer is very moderately alcoholic. Therefore, it tends to create some cheerfulness or some relaxation without any real serious detriment.
Beer has been around for, we believe, at least 5,000 years in some form or another.
It always comes back. It's good stuff. Beer is good stuff.
It is clearly, I think, one of the most incredible beverages of humankind.